I'm Joseph.
And I'm Nick.
This is Fish Jelly.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay.
Yeah? You good?
Happy Mother's Day
Oh, yeah. That's today.
to all of you who deserve it. We went to breakfast with my mother this morning, and we were downtown, but walking into this nice hotel, every person sees a woman and goes, Happy Mother's Day.
I know.
And I wonder, I'm sure that's triggering for some people, especially if you know you ain't shit as a mom and you're taking all these flowers you don't deserve. Or I see some people on Instagram and I'm like, I know you're a terrible mother. And they're posting these pictures like my heart, my life. And they post their children. It's like, your daughter told me she can't stand your ass, but okay.
Meanwhile, the children are trauma triggered and compartmentalizing to get through the day.
Yeah. Meanwhile, all these people who take their mom to brunch are doing everything they can not to snap her necks. But
like that, and then taking it out on the wait staff usually because you're like, God damn, if they could just come back faster.
But
I'll take the check.
Yeah. But yeah, so happy Mother's Day to all of you out there.
Yes.
Do people include their pets who are mothers?
Their slave toys? Pets?
If your slave toy had litter, do you get her a balloon and some catnip
and laugh in her face?
Moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Perry.
Oh God.
Some stills from his new movie Straw were released, starring Taraji P. Henson.
A grand reunion.
And there's something pretty impressive about it. But the story, it's a single mother's world unravels in chaos as her day goes from bad to worse to catastrophic as she struggles to care for her ill daughter. Pushed to the brink by a world that seems indifferent to her existence, she's forced to confront impossible choices in a society that offers her no safety net. The film also features Sherry Shepherd, Teyana Taylor, Glenn Turman, Sinbad, and Rockman Dunbar. So the cast has me interested, obviously.
Of course.
And of course, I'll watch any Tyler Perry movie because, quite frankly, we make the most money off the Tyler Perry thing. And our most watched YouTube video is our recap of part 1 of season 1 of Beauty in Black.
Beauty.
Thanks, girl.
Schadenfreude makes the world go round, I guess. My God.
But so you mentioned reunion. Tyler Perry and Taraji P. Henson worked previously on
Acrimony,
which famously was shot in
7 days.
Can you guess how long it took to film Straw? 4 days.
Bullshit. They also worked together, if memory serves correct, in I Can Do Battle by Myself.
That's right.
She sings Alone in the Kitchen.
Yep.
And isn't she Sanaa's sister in The Family That Prays?
Is she?
I think she has a supporting role in that.
Oh, gosh.
That's what my mind movie says, but who knows?
I've seen every Tyler Perry film, but some of them kind of meld together or are totally forgettable to me.
Well,
like the Medea. Well, the problem with the Medea films is the kinship roles are very strange.
Well, yeah, it's like, who are all these relatives? Where have they been?
Where have they been? Why are some people older or younger than they should be? And so, it's very hard to kind of parse them out. But yeah. Taraji said that they filmed for 4 days because she's currently working on another show, I think. And so they basically had to work around her filming of this other show. And she said, yeah, that's what she likes about Tyler Perry. He works fast, and so do I. So,
well, isn't it quality, not
the
quantity?
sign of quality is to work as fast as you can.
Breakneck speed, everybody. Okay, well, I can't wait to... What you were showing me stills. I'm like, what's that called again? Scram? Straw.
All right. So there's a podcast called R&B Money, and it's hosted by the R&B singer Tank and music executive Jay Valentine. I listen to them sometimes because they get really cool guests on there. You were just listening to me listen to them interview Dionne Warwick, who you confuse based off of her voice.
I was like, is this Phyllis Diller? Who is this speaking?
Yeah, I'm listening to a Phyllis Diller interview.
Well, I don't know.
Which is highly likely. But no, I have a story, and it is film related, but they interviewed Jermaine Dupri. And he's he's, I think his success gets downplayed a little bit, but he has a lot of hit records and has developed quite a few successful artists, and especially thinking about the 90s and early 2000s and all the work he did with Mariah Carey, and continues to make hits, 30 years later. So, for people who like R&B, hip hop, and are familiar with Jermaine Dupri, I think it's a fun interview. He's actually really fascinating to listen to, because I don't even think he finished middle school, and he's not a trained musician, and the way he figured out how to do music is actually really, I thought it was actually really inspiring, like someone knowing that they want to do something and finding a way to do it. But, initially, like the first few minutes, it's like, oh, he's, sometimes you see people and it's like, wow, how did they? But then when he starts talking about the music, and it's like, wow, you're a hit maker. Like, you are a legit songwriter. Like, the way he just comes up with lyrics, and I was engaged for this 2-hour long interview.
A kingmaker.
But something that appealed to me especially was that he was talking about Usher. And he was saying that when it was time to work on Usher's third album, they went to L.A. Reid, who was, L.A. Reid ran LaFace, which is what Usher was signed to at the time. And they had, I think JD said that he and Usher had worked on a song and then brought it to LA to play. And that L.A. Reid told Usher, like, you're not very interesting. Like,
as a person.
Yeah, as a person, he's like, in this climate, in pop and R&B music, it's like you're kind of only popping when your album's out and the marketing's out. But like nowadays, you kind of, people forget about you, so you kind of have to come up with something. And I thought it was interesting because JD, who was responsible for writing these songs, he was like, I always at that time up until then would always record in my studio in Atlanta. And for the longest time, like a lot of those early hit records, he recorded at his mama's house. So these artists were going to like JD's mom's house to record in what was his old bedroom. And then once he got really big, he bought this super impressive, huge studio in Atlanta, like built it from the ground up. But anyway, at the time that Usher was ready to do that third album, he had already established that nice studio of his. And so he was ready to work. And Usher's like, no, let's record in LA. Like, let's do some stuff out there. And JD said that he was not looking forward to that because that is, that's not his process. But he goes out to LA and I think he might have been dating Janet. He doesn't mention Janet. Well, that's not true. They ask him who are his top 5 R&B artists. And he says like R. Kelly, Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson, Luther Vandross, and then top R&B songs. And one of the ones he threw out there, which I thought was interesting, was Let's Wait a While.
Okay.
So that's the only time he mentions her. He doesn't even say her name, and neither do Tank or Jay Valentine.
Oh.
So I wonder if there was something in there like, don't talk about.
Keep her name out of your mouth.
Yeah, because they don't even come close to mentioning her name. But I think it might have been around the time he was dating her, because he's like, yeah, I had it. He's like, I had my Lamborghini out in Malibu, and that's where I was staying, which I had heard from another interview, that the Bow Wow interview, that when he'd be in Malibu, it would be at Janet's house in Malibu.
Uh-huh.
Blah, blah, blah. JD's telling the story about, okay, so LaFace just told me and Usher to Usher's face that you're not interesting. So what am I going to do? And then I had writer's block, which really wasn't writer's block. I just wanted to get out of there and think. So he's like, I hopped in the Lamborghini and drove down Beverly. And he said he was at Beverly and La Cienega. And that's when it hit him that he was thinking of Kaiser Soze from the movie
Usual Suspects.
And I there's, for people who haven't seen it, there's a moment when that character, because I don't want to ruin the movie, but that character and the name, it's kind of like the key to everything. And there's a moment when that character sort of is trying to make up a story and describes everything in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And so JD said that that's when he knew that that's what they needed to do for Usher, is that I'm going to craft like a fake thing for him. And so a lot of the lyrics in that he came up with in that moment turned out to be that song Confessions.
Okay.
And I don't know if you remember that song, but because he was also dating Chili from TLC at that time.
Usher was?
Yeah.
Oh.
And then that song came out and all the lyrics are very much like, I cheated on you, but then and got a girl pregnant, and then you were cheating on me. And JD said that was all made up. In fact, those lyrics were for him, that he had a girlfriend, but had got some other bitch pregnant and didn't know how to tell her, so had to leave a voicemail. And so, but it's so interesting because in an effort to write music that would make Usher seem more interesting, it created this entire like false narrative around him, because at that time people thought, oh, that album, he's talking about Chili.
Well, that's what people assume.
Right. But in actuality, it was like a Kaiser Soze situation where it was just like, I just made up shit. But yeah, for people who like that era of music, that genre.
What about the herpes?
Well, that's HIPAA.
Is that not part of the?
That's HIPAA.
Is that part of the? Is that part of the?
We don't want to violate these people's personal health information.
Well, I didn't violate that. That was announced by someone else.
Well, he didn't announce it.
Somebody did.
We don't want to perpetuate these kind of things. Moving on to 5 on the Black Hand side, 5 Black filmmakers who are not Tyler Perry. Who do you have for us today?
Who is on there today? Today we have Kevin Bray, who I believe was a director on episodes of Insecure. But do you remember All About the Benjamins?
Yes, with Mike Epps and Ice Cube.
And Eva Mendes, I believe.
Yeah, actually, I'm so surprised I remember that movie.
I am too. But that was like 2002. And then also Walking Tall with, I believe, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, which I didn't see that. But anyway. After that, we have Mark Tonderai. Might be butchering the pronunciation of his last name. We reviewed Spell, I believe, with
Loretta Devine,
which I really liked. Yeah, but we also
who was the male lead?
It's Mohammed Atiye, right? Yeah. And then I think I took you to a press screening way back when of House at the End of the Street with Jennifer Lawrence and Elizabeth Shue.
That's a remake. Oh no, I'm thinking of Last House on the Left. Never mind. I do recall watching House at the End of the Street,
which was I remember that. I think it was shot before Hunger Games, and then it was held for some reason. It was by the time it was completed filming to release, there was some kind of delay. But I remember thinking it was kind of decent. It's a B movie, but I like Elizabeth Shue, and J-Law can be fine.
Next,
Tina Mabry might be remembered for Mississippi Damned, but I'm familiar with. I think this was this a 2023 or 2020? No, this is a 2024 release. The Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat. I think did I remember telling you about that?
I don't think so.
Because it kind of reminded me of a more contemporary Waiting to Exhale a little bit. With this group of women that are friends that get together at this cafe and have kind of spent their whole lives being friends. But Anjanou Ellis-Taylor, Sanaa Lathan, and Uzo Aduba were the friends. I think Mekhi Phifer's in there, and Vondie Curtis Hall. A lot of recognizable names. But if you missed it, I think they dropped it on Hulu. But I remember seeing a very early screening of that. But that's worth watching.
Next,
some connective tissue there is actor-director Vondie Curtis Hall, who's married to Casey Lemons, the director of Eve's Bayou, among several other films. And their child was headlining in that Ryan Murphy. What was that Ryan Murphy series called with Naomi Watts, where they're getting those strange messages in their mailbox?
Oh, that's
The Intruder.
No. Oh God, Woody Allen's ex. Yeah, Mia Farrow's in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they're
and who's the man? Is it Liev Schreiber?
No, is it Liev Schreiber or Bobby Cannavale?
Oh.
And
Vondie Curtis Hall is very recognizable because he's done a lot of TV
and film. Mm-hmm. I mean, you've seen him in so many things. Including Color Purple, right?
Right.
Anyway, he's a director starting 1997 with Gridlocked. I think, he was the director of Glitter, the Mariah Carey,
the notorious Glitter,
the notorious Glitter,
which the soundtrack is really good.
I don't think we can blame it on Vondie, but he also did Waist Deep with Megan Good, which is not. Oh, he's in Eve's Bayou, and because that's probably where he met Ms. Good when she was a child, because she stars alongside Tyrese and Lorenz Tate in that film. That's actually a pretty decent B movie, by the way, if you've never seen it. And then I think it's also of note his 2016 film Tony Braxton, Unbreak My Heart.
I recall that was the event viewing for me.
I remember that.
And but now how did I watch it? Because I don't think we had cable.
I don't think we did either.
So I think we had to go to someone's home. Like I had to be nice to someone so I could watch. The only reason I'll go to someone's house nowadays would be if that's the only way I can watch something I want to watch.
But yeah, no, he's not in Color Purple. I was thinking of how he looks in Eve's Bayou.
And last but certainly not least,
Nelson George, who I think I remember knowing of for the first time in the early 2000s because he directed, and I think it was made for cable, movie called Life Support starring Queen Latifah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that? I think where she overcomes drug addiction and she becomes an AIDS activist, and the DVD cover of that or whatever that stands out in my mind. I remember it being at Hollywood Video. He also did other documentaries though. A Ballerina's Tale, which is about Misty Copeland, and then more recently, Say Hey Willie Mays.
All right, well, moving on to the restaurant section. First off, I want to mention, so Kate Spade, the fashion, like Kate Spade New York, the fashion brand, they did a collab with Target to make a bunch of like cute snacks and like cocktail mixes. Mm-hmm. And it was so jarring. I think the packaging is pretty terrible because I was walking through the Target aisle and I'm like, well, what caught my eye is they come in these very basic like stock clear jars with black lids, and they're like labeled, so like the cheapest packaging you could possibly do. And I saw what looked like olives.
Yes,
because I'm like, oh, not these olives just loose out here like this, because they just look like they were in like a clear plastic thing. And then I noticed Kate Spade, like, oh, that's curious. But then it turns out those olives are actually chocolate covered almonds that are painted to look like olives. And then I got like 4 things. I got those olives. I got these diamonds that are actually like raspberry gummies that I think you liked more than I did.
Raspberry and peach.
They smell like chemicals to me.
Yeah, they taste a little chemi, but the texture is nice.
And they're beautiful.
Oh, yes, I could put them on a
like necklace. They're not only the shape of diamonds, but they have like the ridges, so they kind of, the way the light hits them, it's kind of cool.
Sparkle, Neely, sparkle.
And then I got one of the gummies, a different jar. They're shaped like handbags.
What does it say? Stylish handbags.
Stylish handbags, and they're strawberry flavored, and some are green and some are red. And then I got these chocolate covered pretzel sticks.
So it's kind of like an ironic take on consumption, right?
Well, yeah, which might relate to our secret film. But yeah, I thought that was curious. They're not as expensive as you would think they'd be, but they're also kind of like,
but they also look like things that you put in your car to make them smell nice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with product development, and I just think that the packaging's horrible. It looks so cheap, and for a brand that's supposed to, ring a little more premium. And then the combination of like how they look and the flavors, and I don't know who thought this was a good idea.
It's somebody's passion project, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll try it like this."
Or Target was like, "Do you want to make some like?" Well, I don't know if it's not true that Kate Spade has like a lower line that they offer at Target, or maybe Target reached out and they're like, "We're not going to do fashion for you, but we'll sell you some gummy snacks."
Kate, do you want to sell anything to the poor people?
Gummies. And then we tried a new restaurant actually this morning at the Hotel Figueroa in downtown LA. They have a restaurant called Cafe Fig. I'd never been there, but trying to get reservations a week before Mother's Day. Couldn't find anything. So I got lucky with this one. And I have to say, I would totally go back, and actually, I wouldn't mind sitting in because there's this beautiful lounge.
Yeah, I liked actually the lounge. The lounge
better than
is sexier than
the actual restaurant.
Yeah.
But the restaurant was lovely.
And the service was nice.
And the server was very lovely. But the lounge area, I agree, is more sexy. And, the pricing is, about the same as every other restaurant in LA. Too much.
Yeah. I liked my food. So they had fig jam on my burger. I'm like, here's my $25. Take it. Give me that. Let me try it.
Take my $25. And they put it on a cutting board and that stupid small basket to put fries in. It's like all those memes where it's like you see the metal chairs and the cutting board plate and you're going to pay too much for a mid burger. But I thought it was cute. I think it'd be really fun to go back and sit in the lounge for like breakfast.
A tablespoon of ketchup. I need a tablespoon per fry, but okay.
Just bring me the jar you spit it out of.
Just give me the Heinz. Well, we just need to bring our own.
And then I got pancakes, and I have to say, they didn't give us, that must have been like from the diabetes menu, because it was like a teaspoon of syrup.
Yeah.
And they didn't bring syrup. So then whenever they don't bring syrup, I get embarrassed. Like, this is what they're offering, right? Like they want you to eat it like this. I don't like to reinvent the menu. So it's like, well.
Yeah, sure.
I guess this is what I'm having today.
Maybe it's the tariffs.
Oh, is it the tariffs?
The tariffs, we can only give you this much syrup. We don't want to run out.
But there was not enough syrup.
Well, it's just like when we went to God, what was the place down the street where we went on the Cinco de Mayo? They ran out of chips.
Oh, we were somewhere else recently and they ran out of chips. Where was that?
On Cinco de Mayo down the street.
Oh, I thought you meant we went to a Mexican restaurant near Cafe Fig.
That also ran out of chips?
No. You're talking about Tu Madre.
Tu Madre, yeah.
Yeah, they ran out of chips. There's
a Pavilions right there.
Right. Their Pavilions is in a walking distance.
You better have somebody go get some chips.
Yeah.
Where are my table chips?
You better drop Harris right. Anyway. Okay, I'm starting to get silly. And there's something in the Sorry to This Man section.
There is.
Is it me?
It's me. Well, you were following my lead, but mispronouncing Omar C's last name, which I think in the back of my mind I was thinking, but that was
because I was flagrantly throwing around Psy.
Yeah, same.
Okay,
but yeah, again, it just.
My apologies to Omar. We did think you were the best part of that movie.
Oh, Shadow Force.
Shadow Force.
But anyway, I know better. And I think right before we started filming, I'm like, I should double check. But that was a long day.
In this economy. Okay.
So, yeah, we did that wrong.
Films released we didn't cover. Lily.
I actually tried to reach out to the distributor for this because I received no thing about this new Patricia Clarkson movie directed by Rachel Feldman, which is about Lily Ledbetter and about workforce something or other in some case that she filed. I know nothing about Lily Ledbetter, but I love Patricia Clarkson. Would have loved to watch it, but I guess they didn't care to get it out to any registered press.
Nonas?
I was assuming it was Nanas, but
Nanas.
Steven Chbosky, the writer-director of Perks of Being a Wallflower, and that movie that we trashed to high heaven, Dear Evan Hansen. But he's got a new movie.
Oh, Talia Shire's in it.
Yeah, and so is Susan Sarandon and Lorraine Bracco.
And Joe Manganiello?
On Netflix. And I like those people. Didn't have time to review it.
Moving on, Caught by the Tides.
This I would highly recommend, especially if you are a fan of
Tides.
No, Zhe Zhangke, the Chinese film director. And of course stars his wife / eternal muse, Zhao Tao. But it's it's set across years of time as this woman goes on a search for a man that she's in love with, and kind of the fluctuating landscape of China during their endeavors up to the modern, well, I think in the future, because the ending, I think the future time I thought was quite fun. Anyway, I think Zhao Tao is great in it, and it's just getting a release a year after its premiere, so I recommend checking that film out.
Henry Johnson.
David Mamet has a new film. I would have loved to fit this in, but we didn't. Shia LaBeouf stars, and something about a prison inmate. That's all I know. But David Mamet is a fantastic writer, playwright, director. I don't even remember the last time, how long it's been since we've had him directing a film. But anyway, I do hope to catch up with this at some point.
Lastly, Juliet and Romeo.
This looks like such trash. I can't even. It's mind-boggling, but apparently it's based on the real story that inspired Romeo and Juliet.
Oh my God. Rebel Wilson, Rupert Everett, Jason Isaacs.
Rupert Everett and Rebel Wilson, I believe, are the Capulets.
Oh, Lettucey is in it.
So
wow.
Rebel Wilson is married to Rupert Everett in it. They're the Capulets. Anyway, Timothy Scott Bogart's the director. It looks fantastically bad, but anyway.
Well, even the cat
is sounding off. She agrees.
Okay, projects of interest. Reptilia.
I love that Mikey Madison very publicly turned down the Star Wars film and has just announced she's starring opposite Kirsten Dunst in the sophomore film directed by Alejandro Landes Echevarria, whose previous film Manos, if you haven't seen it, fantastic, from 2019. This is about a mermaid that lures a woman into her, I guess, realm and into the underground sale of animals in Florida or something. It has a crazy sounding premise. I'm assuming Mikey Madison's playing the mermaid. I don't know.
All of the sudden,
Raisuke Hamaguchi has a new project that's going to be shot in Paris and headlined by Virginia Fira. So that's great, exciting news as well.
Paper Tiger.
I think this I can't remember if we talked about this before. I love James Gray, and as a director, and what?
As opposed to a lover, or
anyway.
Are you frustrated?
No, I think Anne Hathaway was. Anne Hathaway and somebody else, I forget, but they dropped out, and now we have Scarlett Johansson and I think Miles Teller. Anyway, I will watch.
Laughing.
I don't
in that man's face.
I don't find Miles Teller particularly appealing, but and you don't like ScarJo, so this will be a hard sell getting you to see this new James Gray movie. But anyway, Paper Tiger. Something about two brother. It sounds very familiar to James Gray and his interests about two brothers struggling across years to conquer something. I don't know.
Harmonia.
Guy Nativ directed this, or is directing this. His last thing was not a very well done film about Golda Meir starring Helen Mirren. But Carrie Coon and Lily James are starring, and I think it's about some female cults in the early 80s, which sounds good.
Lastly, teenage sex and death at Camp Miasma.
Jane Schoenbrunn, the director of I Saw the TV Glow and We're All Going to the World's Fair, has a new project lined up, and apparently Gillian Anderson's attached. But that title.
Wait, is Gillian Anderson from X-Files?
Yes.
I saw a headline, and maybe I just am misinterpreting it, but I thought that someone had said Ryan Coogler would be interested in like revamping X-Files.
I think that is his next project, and they have spoken. I heard that.
Oh, okay. And that she is like that. From what I got from my zero research is that she was favorable to that idea.
Yes, very. And I believe they have spoken. I don't know. Did David Duchovny's character die? Like what?
You know what's crazy? There was a period where I think I watched many episodes of X-Files.
I've seen both films at some point.
And I don't know what happened, like why I stopped, or I don't know if I watched them like posthumously or...
Posthumously? You were dead? Oh, you mean
how do you refer to it when you watch a show after it's off the air?
I guess it's dead to us. My God, posthumously in syndication.
Well, no, I think I rented like the box set, or someone, or maybe my like old roommate had the box set, and I started I don't even know when X-Files was originally on the air. Like
In
the 90s?
90s, yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Well, God, I want to say Fight the Future, Fear the Future, the film, was that 98?
But I recall enjoying what I saw. Like
Fox
I have
and
a
Mulder.
memory.
Yeah.
So it's so weird that I didn't. Well, that's not weird because I've started a lot of things I didn't, or that I did enjoy and just quit. But I'm a quitter, baby.
And then I would listen to, because my mother had the Pure Moods CD, and that X-Files theme song. Is it called Tubular Bells or is that The Exorcist? Anyway, both of those I think were on there.
You know what? I'm inspired to go to the gym today and listen to Pure Moods.
Oh, Orinoco Flow and Return to Innocence. There was some jam. The Promise by Michael Nyman from the piano. Love it. They got some jams on there.
Some jams. Yeah.
Wait, what was that little kid at the beginning of watching something sinful?
Great
Balls
of
of Fire, when the two little white kids are in the chocolate quarter and watching sexy dancing with the black people, and the one kid's like, "This is the devil's work," and the other little kid that ends up being
Jerry Lee
Lewis is like, yeah. It's creepy.
Well, that's a good segue because this past week on our Patreon, we reviewed Great Balls of Fire, the Jerry Lee Lewis story, Under the Sand, a Charlotte Rampling film.
Francois Ozon directed, yes.
And I Heart Huckabees, which Nick has donated to the public. So for anyone who does not pay for membership on Patreon, they can go to our Patreon and listen to I Heart Huckabees for free. And that episode opens with Lily Tomlin, her rant, screaming at David O. Russell.
Mm-hmm.
So do enjoy.
Oh, those were the days.
Unfortunately, there are entries in the obituaries section. Greg Cannom, he is a special makeup effects artist.
He won 4 Oscars.
Wow.
Including for Vice. It was the last one, but Mrs. Doubtfire, Bram Stoker's Dracula. Yeah.
But he worked on The Mask, Titanic, Hook, Hannibal, The Passion of the Christ.
Yeah.
Oh, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
I think he won an Oscar for that too.
Yeah, very talented.
And he wasn't that old.
Well, 73.
That's not that old.
Ugh, that's too old for me.
I mean, I'm not saying I want to get that old, but I don't think that's that old.
Can we do 53?
You know what I'm measuring against? How old is Sigourney Weaver? I want her to live long. So.
Oh, wow. She's older than 70.
She is. That's why I'm trying to keep that alive.
Okay. James Foley.
James Foley died? I didn't know that.
He died on May 6th.
Oh, damn.
From brain cancer. Wow. He was 71.
Oh,
I'm not familiar with.
If I wasn't flying today, I'd say we should watch After Dark, My Sweet. You directed many episodes of House of Cards.
What?
Yes, but he was in the 80s and 90s. I think had some very interesting films at the very least. We just talked about The Chamber recently, the John Grisham film with Chris O'Donnell and Gene Hackman and Faye Dunaway. He did Who's That Girl?
With Madonna?
Because he directed At Close Range with Sean Penn, who she was dating at the time. So that's how he got that gig. But After Dark, My Sweet is really good neo-noir because I believe that's based on is that it's not Chandler. It's the guy that did
I don't know.
It's Jim Thompson, The Grifters. After Dark, My Sweet, I could rewatch. But his probably most celebrated work is his adaptation of Glengarry Glen Ross, which I think has just had a revival somewhere. You've seen him do A Perfect Stranger with Halle Berry and Bruce Willis. And then I think he did 2 of the 50 Shades films, which unfortunately I think that was, I guess I was hoping he'd make something else after that because I'm like, he must be doing this to get some better deal doing something. But wow, I didn't know he died. Okay.
And then Denise Alexander, an actress who was best known for her role on General Hospital. I have a fondness for daytime soaps. My mom used to watch General Hospital and All My Children. Yes. Well, actually, she preferred All My Children, then Young and the Restless, and then General Hospital. But
I remember that those shows being on, and I think a lot of it blended together for me as a kid.
I think I had a fondness because, taking sick days from school and getting to stay at home and watch Price is Right and watch soap operas with my mom. But yeah, as an adult, I could see myself appreciating them if I were. I mean, I guess I am a stay-at-home person, but I don't have a TV in front of me. Okay, the secret film this week was Nick's choice, and Nick chose the 1969 American psychological drama They Shoot Horses, Don't They? Directed by Sidney Pollack.
Yeah, who's a fantastic director. You should be familiar with Mr. Pollack for many reasons, but yeah.
What is this movie about? The lives of a disparate group of contestants intertwine in a grueling and inhumane dance marathon. Okay, so I had heard about this movie, I think, well, when would I have first heard about it? Probably, well, the memory that's sticking out is that you bought my mom this DVD years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom likes sappy shit like The Doll Maker and The Coal Miner's Daughter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I know that you sent her this.
Because, she wanted a copy of The Doll Maker, so I got it for her because it was out of print back then on VHS. And then I said, oh, by the way, here's my favorite Jane Fonda movie, which is this film.
But I thought that this movie was literally about like this poor farm family who have to put down a horse.
Oh, hell no.
And then I didn't read the premise before we started the movie. Mm-hmm. And the movie opens with a horse being put down.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, okay, so this is going to be some sappy, like old Yeller type stuff. Child, this movie is not that.
No.
In fact, this movie feels kind of on the level of like if you were to mix Old Yeller with like Network.
Requiem for a Dream.
I mean, it's masterful.
I love this film so much. I haven't watched it in years because it is bleak as hell. This is bleak week cinema for sure.
I was not ready for this movie at all.
I mean, I saw it when I was probably way too young, and this film probably did have a profound effect on me. And there are sequences that I think really are burned into my mind, like shots of faces and some chunks of this film. But I think that it actually very curiously speaks to right now as well.
Okay. I'm going to tell the story. So it's set during the Great Depression, like the 1930s, and we're in Los Angeles, and we see that there's an event at like this like ballroom, and all these people are there trying to sign up, and it's for a dance marathon.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently this was the thing that was happening. And basically it's these people who have these contestants dance nonstop for days, weeks, even months, like just straight. Of course they take breaks and sleep, but like they're just dancing for hours on end with the hope of winning a prize. And in this particular instance, the prize is $1,500, which in 1932 money, and it being the Depression, is, a lot of money. So the main character is Jane Fonda.
Gloria.
And she shows up with this man, her partner. And everyone's signing in, and they have a doctor and a nurse and like checking people out. And Jane Fonda's partner sounds sick. And the doctor's like, you probably have bronchitis. So ain't nobody got time for that. You're disqualified. And Jane Fonda is like, well, I have to be in this competition. And she's talking to the host, who's played by Gig Young.
Yep, Rocky in his Oscar-winning role. Yeah.
He's looking at her like, bitch, well, that's your problem, not my problem. But luckily for her, a handsome young man kind of strolls into the ballroom, and he's played by Michael Sarrazin.
Robert.
So Gig Young says, well, what about this cowboy over here? And she runs over to him and says, come on, let's do this. And he is clearly like, he has nothing better to do. And he's not quite sure what all of this is about. So he just agrees. Because, you're also getting fed 4 times a day and getting snacks and a place to stay. And so for some people during this hard time, this, is not a bad gig.
Potentially,
but
I think you would need to know when to make your exit.
Know when to fold them, know when to hold them. But this is the part I was not ready for, because I'm like, oh, it's going to be I'm like, how long could they go? Because the sign over the dance floor says, like it's a sign that's, you know, where the numbers are showing, and there are two numbers shown to us. One is the number of contestants remaining, and the other is the number of hours. So I'm like, oh, so this is gonna be like a day. Like, you can't make people dance for more than a day. And then as the film goes on, that number is like 200, 400, 500.
1,000.
Then we have like a party for like the 1,000. And then, spoiler, it ends around the 1,200 hour mark.
Well, actually, this film doesn't, there are still contestants dancing.
Actually, you're right. The story for us ends, but like, they haven't announced a winner yet because there's still people dancing, but we end this story at around 1,200 hours, which is like damn near 2 months.
And then periodically, to kind of hasten things along and make people drop out, they make them do a 10-minute derby sprint.
Oh, we'll get to that, because those are pretty I mean, oh my God, I was so not ready for this movie. But anyway, so basically we're just watching these people go through the motions of this. So then I got concerned, like, wait, are we really about to watch 2 hours? But it is riveting because, like you alluded to, there are things that sort of spice it up. And literally the host, Gig Young, is saying, we need to do stuff to keep people's attention. And it's almost like they're talking to us watching the movie too. So, and we'll get to those moments. But also there's some, you know, interpersonal drama, because specifically Jane Fonda and Michael Sarrazin don't know each other, right? They're strangers. But then, you know, spending all of that time with someone in such an intimate way, I mean, we can talk about it, because I'm not sure what I thought about their connection, but at a point, I guess because everyone's going stir crazy, there's another couple played by Susanna York and who's her partner?
Robert Fields, who you think looks like Zachary Quinto.
Yes, Zachary Quinto. So they are both actors. And, you know, they're in Hollywood.
And she's British.
She's British. And so they're there trying to get, like, some exposure. So at a point, Susanna York seduces Michael Sarrazin. And they hook up in, like, a closet, like a janitor's closet. Side note, you know, shit is bad when the black janitor looks like he's doing way better in 1932 than all these white folks. But anyway, they hook up, and Jane Fonda can tell that her dance partner just hooked up with the other lady. So she gets mad and wants to switch partners. She also goes and hooks up with Gig Young, who is clearly a womanizer and taking advantage of his position of power. So then, like, we see that they've split up and they're dancing with other people, which is interesting because there are people in the audience, and people were rooting for Jane Fonda and Michael Sarrazin. But
they're like a fan favorite.
So then, to keep things spicy in this story, at one point, Zachary Quinto, he just drops out of the contest because there was a producer or some sort of director in the audience who saw him and wanted to book him. So he's like, well, shit, I just got booked to be an extra on like a 10-day shoot for some Western or something. So I'm out of here.
They also make an allusion to Mervyn LeRoy, who did make a film about dance marathons in the 30s, being in the audience.
That's right. So, of course, Jane Fonda's like, well, damn, like, because at that point, it's been weeks, like 6 weeks that they've been dancing. And now she's just like, I don't have a partner, but the rules say she can continue solo for 24 hours until she can find a new partner.
And the messed up thing is that she goes to Gig Young on break and is like, what happens if I don't find a partner? And he's like, well, I'm sorry, I can't help you. And meanwhile, you know, she's been giving him sex favors. And he's like, I can help you out, but anything but that. Like, people have to have something to believe in.
Well, because he's saying the audience, like, we can't just change up the rules, because, the audience during these times really needs something they can believe in.
And they will, if they can't trust us that we have guidelines, then they'll leave.
But then there's another character, this old man who I thought looked like George Bush.
That's Oscar winner Red Buttons.
And he is this old sailor, acts like he's a young man. But at one point, his wife is down for the count. Like, her knees just collapse.
Yeah.
So Jane Fonda's like, great, because that's at like when she only has hours left to be disqualified. So she starts dancing with him. And then we have to spend time on this scene. But Jane Fonda ends up losing red buttons.
Yep.
Which is very important to the story because he dies. And Susanna York, who is now Michael Sarrazin's partner, loses it. Like, we have to get into all of it. But she drops out because she literally has like a nervous breakdown after experiencing red buttons die, like watching him die in front of her, and then his like head falls on her lap. So she has to quit. So now Jane Fonda and Michael Sarrazin are both without partners, so they link up again. And then because they were like the popular couple, and you know, because they were photographers, reporters, but it's being broadcast over the radio, people are so excited that they're back together again. So Gig Young is like, he has a proposition for them. I want you two to get married on the show. You can get divorced when the show's done, but get married now because that'll send people through the roof. And then you'll get a bunch of shit. And maybe, you know, you can hawk it and make a few $100s. And that's when Jane Fonda's like, wait a minute. Why would I do that when I could win? And Gig Young tells her, bitch, I can't predict who's going to win, but I know a loser when I see one. Basically saying like, don't count on it. And that's when she discovers that whomever wins this contest, the $1,500, Gig Young has been keeping a tab of everything he spent on them, like dry cleaning, medical services, uniforms. So whomever wins, they have to pay
some of that back. Yeah.
They have to recoup. So it's like every shitty R&B deal from the 90s. TLC, Tony Braxton. So that's when Jane Fonda loses it. Like, I'm out of here. So she quits, packs up her shit, and walks outside. And Michael Sarrazin follows her, and she pulls out a gun like she's going to kill herself, but she can't do it. So she asks Michael Sarrazin to do it. And this man grabs that gun and shoots her in the head and kills her. The end. But a couple of things to note. I already mentioned the opening of the film is that we see, I presume it's Michael Sarrazin as a young boy.
Yes.
Like on a farm or whatever. And that like his family's horse gets injured. And so the dad has to shoot it. So that's a core memory for him. And then throughout the film, we get flashbacks to Michael Sarrazin being arrested, going to jail, being on trial, going to jail. And so, of course, you're thinking, oh, I think the most brilliant part of this movie is how it's constructed, because maybe I'm stupid, but I was gagged.
It's presented in a way that makes you think that this is in the past, and this is why this mysterious figure kind of blew into this.
I thought he was a drifter, which he kind of is, but I thought the reason he was kind of this anonymous man who walked in is because maybe he escaped from jail. But then we realized that all those flashbacks we saw were actually foreshadowing the future, because after he shoots Jane Fonda, of course, the police scoop his ass up, and they're like, why did you do it? How could you do it? And that man says, they shoot horses, don't they?
He says it with kind of an innocent child.
Right. He's not being sarcastic like I am. But yeah, I mean, I just can't keep saying I was not ready for this movie. I really thought in my head it would be some sappy.
No, I think it's a profound, it's a disturbing movie. I think it's profound. It's troubling.
I think it's brilliant in that. Well, it feels like Network, like it's so timely.
Well, yeah, because we're doing to people then what we still do to them now. I mean,
we're manipulating audiences.
We build and
exploiting people.
Yes,
yeah,
we build people up to tear them down. It's just a constant cycle of use and abuse, and it causes these situations of despair. Because I think this movie I agree, I think it is brilliant. But even the audience members who are actually quite unwittingly complicit in the cycle of misery, because they want to escape and watch people's lives that are worse than their own. They want to watch misery, kind of like we do with, I believe I think what is the fascination with reality television and watching people tear each other apart every day. But there's also empathy and pity and like the woman that is clearly emotionally invested in the success of Sarrazin and Jane Fonda. I mean, I feel bad for her too. Like there's just a swell of emotion as the things go along, and you see her like catching her breath. Will they make it?
Yeah. I'm just going to start going through my notes. So when we first show up at the contest and everyone's signing in, red buttons, he writes on his application that he's 31 years old.
Gig Young looks up 31.
That man doesn't even look 61, okay? That's an elderly ass man. But he has a lot of energy, and he's dressed like a sailor, which is of course creepy because he's dressed boyish, but he's someone's grandpa.
They are filtering people out, but you know, they use the sailor right away to court audience investment.
Yeah.
So Gig Young is looking at these people like, what can I use them for?
So,
and how can I break them?
Susanna York's partner, the one who looks like Zachary Quinto. Then you have this couple who the lady is pregnant.
It's Bonnie Bedelia and Bruce Dern. When I tell you there are shots of Bonnie Bedelia in this movie that haunt me, really.
It's so crazy. First of all, they're both like, I mean, they're like hobos basically. And she got knocked up and the entire time she's making, also I thought Bruce Dern looked like Kevin Nealon, but
he does that.
Until I realized that, I also know who Bruce Dern is.
Yes,
but
you do.
Bruce Dern gets mad because Jane Fonda keeps trying to like convince.
She's antagonizing Bonnie Bedelia.
Yeah, she's not trying to. Well, she's antagonizing her more than trying to help her. But she's like, "Why are you going to keep this baby? Like, but what is she supposed to do with like get an abortion?"
Well, exactly.
I mean, they are in LA,
but also, I think it's important to. We haven't really talked about Gloria. Jane Fonda is like the word I think that would expertly describe her is bellicose. Like she comes in, she is looking for a reason to fight.
Well, yeah, we need to talk at length about her character.
Anyway, so I think she's just saying it how it is. Like, why the hell would you have a kid in the situation you're in? Like, and she doesn't say these words, but very close to like dump another person in this dumpster fire. Like,
well, here we can talk. I mean, I want to talk more about her, but the grandfather from the Munsters,
Al Lewis,
who after you said it, I'm like, oh my God, he does look like Edith Massey.
He looks like
Eggman.
He looks like Edith Massey's brother, especially here. His character's name is Turkey, and he's basically Gig Young's little right-hand man. He doesn't ever speak to the contestants, but he keeps Gig on track.
And I really liked Michael Sarrazin's look, and then I realized, because I think he looks like Pennywise.
Bill Skarsgård, yeah.
Okay.
You know what's funny is Sarrazin, I believe, was supposed to be the cowboy in The Boys in the Band.
Oh.
I think that was originally slated for him, but
I could see that.
Didn't take it, yeah.
I kind of want to watch a Michael Sarrazin movie now.
Oh, God. You know what you need to see? He's much older in it, but it is trash. It's him and Charlotte Rampling, and it's called Mascara. From like 1987. It is trash and so out of date about trans and gender roles and
oh my
serial
God,
killers.
Hold on. Mascara.
It's kind of embarrassing.
Transsexual murders being investigated by the man who committed them, a police detective. So is he?
Yeah.
Oh.
And Charlotte Rampling is the lead.
Oh my God, I want to watch that.
It's such trash. I would watch it again, but that's bad. Anyway, Michael Sarrazin.
Gig Young is so good in this movie. First of all, I couldn't. I feel like I need to start incorporating
Yowza. I mean, that was given, and it was as an adult watching this was reminding me of Requiem for a Dream and the Christopher McDonald,
where he's talking about
we got a winner. Juice on Sarah, go. Yes, the yowza.
So they have this judge monitoring everyone because there are all these rules, and that damn judge looks like Lurch, and he's on roller skates, and he has it out for Jane Fonda. So let's talk about Jane Fonda.
Rollo, Michael Conrad.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I really connected with that character.
Yeah.
I feel like she said a lot of things that I often say. Mm-hmm. But talking about her in comparison to Susanna York's character. First of all, we didn't even mention this movie is based on a book.
Yes, that was written, I believe, in 1935 by Horace McCoy, and I think people were trying to make this for decades.
So I think this story is brilliant. And as soon as I realized what it like, once we were approaching, because it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, oh my God, it didn't hit me till the end, to be honest. When he shoots her, like, that's what the title's.
Yeah,
about. But there. like after watching the movie, didn't I say like I just don't know that this could have been made in the 40s or 50s?
No.
Like they had to wait until damn near the 70s
Yes.
to tell it in a more authentic way.
Because I read that somebody was trying to make this made with Marilyn Monroe, who I'm assuming would be the Susanna York character. But
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Susanna York as well, and you have at least seen her in The Shout, because we did have a podcast on that.
With the guy like
Alan Bates.
Alan Bates.
She's the female lead in that, and then of course as Childy in The Killing of Sister George.
Oh, she's in that?
Yeah, she's
the young little thing?
Yeah, she's the one that's obsessed with dolls.
The one who's with the older one.
Yeah, with Beryl Reid.
And then leaves her for another one.
Yeah.
That's her?
That's Susanna York.
That's Susanna York?
Yeah. She had a great run in the 70s. I love Robert Altman's Images. So a lot of fantastic films. Yep.
Okay, so I feel like a good place to start is to compare these two women because they're both aspiring actors.
Well, kind of, because Jane Fonda's, her plan is if she wins this money to go to California, or she came to California she's complaining that she can't get into central casting because it's all locked up. It's all based on who you know.
Right, but they both sort of had this similar dream.
Yes.
Jane Fonda's on the way out, and then Susanna York still believes that she can be a star baby.
Mm-hmm.
But Susanna York is all dolled up like, the blonde with she's definitely trying to be a starlet.
Yes.
And it's very clear that like she will keep the company of gentlemen to try to like get anything she can. And she's probably been used and abused.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jane Fonda's the opposite. We don't know her beginnings. Maybe she was like Susanna York's character and then realized like this shit is for the birds. It didn't get me anywhere. Because at one point she says, all this time I've been trying to get like what did she say about like trying to get the men off her she spent all this time trying to not do all this shit with men when it turns out that she probably could have. How does she phrase it?
She phrased it in a way that suggested that maybe she was courting the wrong gender to get what she needed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But so Jane, like you already said, what was the word you used to describe her?
Bellicose.
She comes in hot. Like she is jaded, angry, cynical. Mm-hmm. She has something to say about everyone.
Oh yeah, she's got.
I'm like, well, I guess I'm looking into a mirror, and then but she's trying to survive.
Yeah, as all these people are. But it's this is a pit of despair they're entering.
But thinking about what this movie made me feel like is that life is so hard.
Yeah,
and we all react to it differently. And I think if you've ever been a person who has thought about ending your own life or you've verbalized it, the reaction you get sometimes is like, if you ask me, it just feels like you don't know my life. You don't know what I've been through. It's all relative. And it just feels so dismissive sometimes when it's like, what could anyone have told Jane Fonda at the moment that she realized that this was pointless and times are so bad and who knows what she's been? No one could have said shit to me except handed me $1,500. Uh-huh. If you don't have $1,500 from me, if you don't tell the man with the money to come see me, then I'm blowing my brains out. Like, I just think that this movie just feels so sobering because this is reality.
It's like stark. Yeah.
Like all the hopeful shit that people want to throw at you. And it's like, not everyone is able to move past that. Mm-hmm. There are every day people kill themselves.
Yes.
because shit is hard for them. And like this movie just made me think like, I don't know. It was very refreshing, even though this movie is so bleak.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, it's like if you've ever had to go through suicide prevention training at some kind of administrative or office job, and it's like this shit is all lip service, and this is not going to talk me, myself, and I personally off of a cliff if I am set on ending my life. But and of course, I have my own personal relationship with suicide, but I do find this film actually also strangely refreshing. But you that's true. You don't know what anybody's gone through or what they've been through, and sometimes you just need to listen. And the thing is, Michael Sarrazin as Robert, he's listening to her and he obliges, because you have to remember he's also been worn down to nothing.
Well, yeah, when we don't know, well, that's the beauty of these characters. We don't know his history either. He's literally a stranger.
Yes.
Like a doe-eyed stranger.
But where he goes is to his child's memory of this horse. And maybe you could make an argument that it's on the nose, right? That it's showing the audience that this is where the sentiments of the film are. But I actually find it really powerful and poetic that as she's shooting her, it's edited in a way where we see Jane Fonda's body falling in the field in place of the horse.
Editing, we have to talk about the editing too, because it's brilliant. But I also thought it was very powerful.
Like, I think it works. It's obvious, but it works really well.
Well, because for me, it's like, if, to put a horse down because it's kinder, right? Like, you don't want them to suffer and they're not useful. Like, they're not going to heal. But it's like, for some people, that's also the scenario. Like,
yeah,
some people can be broken, and I don't know. I'm not advocating for anything except
but to each their own. Like what is it that you feel you can live with or can't? And I don't know. Like you get one life. I am more of a hopeful person than you are, and I think that we only get one life, and you need to enjoy time. That doesn't mean every day gets to be happy, because how do you know what being happy is if you can't be sad?
I agree with that.
But I think that, yeah, that it's for each of ourselves to decide is how I feel.
Well, and decide, like, I'm like, again, it's just like,
again, also
sometimes people need something, and it's like, if you can't get it, what are you supposed to do? Like you said, people pay lip service. It's like I've had people come to me with these feelings, and it's like, I will always be willing to do what I can, but sometimes like, it's like wrong place, wrong time, wrong people, right? Like, sometimes people are in a jam or a spot, and the resources they need aren't available, or that shoulder to lean on is not there. And I don't know, life, there's just so much chaos and so many people, and sometimes people fall through the cracks. That's the most depressing part, is that
yes,
there are times when I think that someone could have been saved.
Well, saved, do they? Yes, I don't think that it should be an automatic go-to, but it's like, I can understand it. But it's hard to think that yet saved as in, if the resources had been there, if the timing had been right, that they could still be here. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but save doesn't even mean like a handout, like, oh, I'm going to give you $1,500.
No.
I mean, it for some people, it could.
I think also
I've had situations where it was like someone, all they needed, and it's not like I'm a superhero, but it's like, I think the fact that there was a person there, and I happen to be that warm human person of life, just to listen for a second, that was enough to stop them.
Yes, like
so that's what I mean. I don't always mean like, oh, if I can offer you a job or a house or a car, but it's like, that's the creepy part. And I think the brilliance of Jane Fonda's character is that she's not some rando person who we don't know. It's her characterization of the performance make it very clear that she's been through a lot. And she was already at her wit's end when she walked in this joint.
Yeah.
And then y'all have me dancing for 1,200 hours. And then you tell me that I'm not going to get shit.
And then Michael Sarrazin, he agrees to pull that trigger. And what I meant by he's worn down, he's not in his right state of mind either at this point. And they have also just had a really poignant moment, because she's packing up. She has lost a silk stocking, and she's like, I had to give up.
She didn't take the
tram car for a month.
She didn't take public transport for a month.
A month to save up for these silk stockings, and he finds it and grabs it and it rips, and she starts sobbing, and he's looking for any way to comfort her. I don't know. It just because if you just talk about it, it seems really drastic and over the top. And I think when you talk about suicide and you're not, I think, experiencing it alongside or in the moment with the situation, it always sounds a little dramatic. But I don't know. To me, this makes sense.
I fully related to her. I fully related to, like, these feelings are cumulative.
Yes.
It's like lead poisoning. It's like, it's not like, oh, a new day has come and it's a fresh start. It's like, no, it's not about the stockings, but it is about the stockings. Like, it's just too much. And I often think that when I get spoken to about my mood, and it's like, I don't.
I get spoken to.
Well, because sometimes people talk to me and it's like, I don't need to be reminded that I have a nice life. I'm aware of that. And I do think that I'm very fortunate. But sometimes when I'm feeling real nasty, I think like the person telling me this has a horrible life. And so it's like, maybe you need to focus on yourself. Don't tell you're not comforting me because you have it way worse than I do. And the fact that you're able to persist is a mystery.
Well, I think the point of that, if we're
that sounds terrible. I'm not implying that they should kill themselves. I'm just saying, like, it's all relative and cumulative. And I think the beauty of this story is, at least for me, I just think that it all seems so simple, you think, but I don't. I think it's. I mean, this idea of like, you can just be broken and done and like, I have no use anymore. And it's a controversial topic, but like that lady, she was done.
She was done. I think that the objective point beyond what you're saying is, it's really a frame of mind. It's about it, and I'm not saying that compartmentalization is always healthy. We all have coping mechanisms to get through what we need to get through, but it's like we rarely, I think, take the time to go back and what actually to me would be processing is, I for speaking personally, like I feel like I constantly get flashbacks to something that traumatized me in some way, and I'll just immediately want to push it away, like don't think about it. But it's like, no, let's make these things less dangerous to ourselves if we maybe talk about it with somebody. I don't know.
Well, this is why talking to a professional is important. If you don't have access to a professional, talk to a kind ear who will listen and not try to give you advice. People don't need your shitty advice. They just need you to listen. I think especially nowadays, just from my own experience with other people, because I don't socialize, but people seem very open to tell me things. And I think I've learned with all this experience is that I think a lot of people just want to be heard, which of course makes me think of Maria Bamford saying, I just want to witness to my experience. I think that's true, that so many people feel like no one's listening.
Not only does this film feel quintessentially American for how we put people on this Sisyphean roller belt that includes entertainment, this also felt very LA to me, because there's that scene. It's when Jane Fonda and Robert Fields first pair up as partners, and they are both they're stuck together dancing, and they are both rambling.
Yeah,
about
two different things
that concern them. And to me, that evoked perfectly, I think, how it is meeting people in LA right now.
Well, and that breeds isolation, which is dangerous, right? Like you start to feel like a lot of people feel alone. And it's like, well, I mean, yeah, I can see why, because you're self-absorbed and self-involved, and you don't excuse me, I can't use that word. You don't listen. So yeah, I mean, I thought that scene was really good, that they're both just rambling on about, like, they're talking at each other and neither one is listening until they finally are, and they realize like, oh, okay.
Something else I like, Jane Fonda, who's again very antagonistic, especially to the other women. But when I see Jane Fonda looking at Bonnie Bedelia and Susanna York, I can see the wheels turning in her head, that she has disdain for these women because she feels that they are traps that she avoided. Well,
yes, because like I avoided the trap of motherhood.
Yep.
And I avoided the trap of being like a man's plaything,
losing my dignity, because she
or being something to be objectified.
She looks down so hard on Susanna York.
Yeah. Okay, I got so sidetracked. I'm sorry. So of course it's like, okay, they need to take bathroom breaks and they sleep, and so at night they sleep because, like, who's listening to the radio at 3 a.m. in 1932? And they but when they eat, I'm like, don't tell me they have to dance while they eat. Yes, they
They have to
do.
keep moving.
So you see all these people eating and like kind of like, you know, you do your little hit session and they have you warm like in between each work. They want you to keep moving, so you do that one move. That's what they look like.
And then Bonnie Bedelia is shoving food in her face, and she's like, "I'm sorry, I have to." Jane Fonda's looking at like I feel so bad for Bonnie Bedelia in that moment because Jane Fonda's looking at her with such disgust, and she's like, "I have to."
But that's another thing. I think sometimes it's so easy. Like I have to constantly remind myself when I am annoyed by, I mean, everything, but usually, well, even in my own house, but when I leave the house and I'm in a public place and people do things, I have to remind myself that people get into situations that they didn't plan for, account for. And it's like, we can't, well, you always like to say this, usually when it relates to yourself, but how punitive do we want to be?
Exactly.
Like, you know, when you hear a kid screaming in a restaurant, everyone gets annoyed. And it's like, well, first of all, children are innocent. It's like, you can't, like, how you gonna be mad at a 3-year-old? And then it's also like, no one has a kid to be the annoying person at the restaurant, right?
Or
like,
on the plane.
You know, no one signed up for that. Right. Yes, you had a kid, and so putting them on a plane, they're probably going to start screaming. But I kind of felt like for Bonnie Bedelia, it's like this poor lady, because she even says like you can't. Because Jane Fonda says, "Why would you have a kid in this economy?"
Right,
which is something that I used to say a lot.
Hey, and things are getting worse.
But then Bonnie Bedelia says, like, you can't stop having kids just because you don't have money. And then I thought, that's right. Like, you can't. Like, that's just not, that's not how humans work, right?
And also notable, this couple, Bruce Dern and Bonnie Bedelia, have already won a dance contest somewhere. It's like, so he's already put this lady through this.
I felt strangely a lot of, like, you know, because at first I was like, oh my God, if you're on the brink of killing yourself, do not watch this movie. But I actually felt kind of the opposite. It felt kind of like I wanted to feel more kindness towards people. Like, it reminded me that everyone's going through something and it's all relative, and
we're all stuck in this rat race. That and are we hurting? How we're hurting each other by treating each other this way? So
having more compassion, listening more, you know, having more patience, which is hard to maintain because as soon as I leave the house, it's like people are really aggressive driving, and people are rude at the grocery store, and
but you know, and I think that's what's so entrancing about the Gig Young character is because he's really kind of a problem because he knows how to manipulate to the nth degree.
Well, he's a master. He's a master marketer, master manipulator.
Because he does some things that would suggest that there is some humanity in him, but it's always for the sake of getting every last drop of what he can. Because there, at one point, Susanna York's one of her 2 beautiful dresses gets stolen, and we learn it's him that did that and destroyed it
to create drama.
Yes.
Which feels like every reality TV producer.
Yes.
Creating scenarios.
And then Red Button's a dance partner goes a little loony, to use an improper terminology, I know. But she thinks things are crawling over her and she's freaking out. And the nurses always call Gig Young back there. And he knows just what to do to her to calm her down.
Which at first is like, oh, there's some humanity in him. And then I thought, but this is not a trained professional. This has happened before.
It's kind of Nightmare Alley-ish what she's doing. But Jane Fonda, like how they treat the geek, the guy that bites the heads off the birds. That's what Gig Young is doing.
Getting back to Susanna York.
But Jane Fonda says, oh, I'm surprised you didn't put her on display, Cheryl. And he goes, oh, it's too real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like with how they cover up Red Button's death, which we'll get to.
Speaking of Susanna York's dress, I thought one of the funnier moments is she's, you know, losing it backstage because she only has 2 dresses and the one's gone and her hair chemicals are gone and someone stole her rouge. And you hear someone in the background, girl, go, nobody wants your dress. Because I could fully hear myself saying that.
But
don't nobody want your dress.
But how cruel, because he knew that taking away those accoutrements, she was going to spiral.
Right.
And he said, because Michael Saracen discovers the cut up dress in the garbage, and that's how we learn this.
That's right.
And basically, I think Gig Young tells him, you know, she was never going to win anyway. That she doesn't this isn't what the sponsors of the show, that's not who they want to win. They want, because I think they want they want the audience to think that if they also participate in something like this, they have a shot. Like
that's right.
Susanna York, somebody that's glitzy and glamorous, they also seem unattainable.
Just to keep going. So the first time, so at like at the end of the first act, maybe we see that there is like someone's painting lines on the dance floor,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, what is that? And then some of the people know what it is in the audience or in the contest, and some don't. But it's very clear that this is not good.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, as the movie-going audience is like, oh my God, what is this line for? And then we realize that they're painting
a racetrack,
a lap.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to have these people run for 10 minutes.
While attached to each other.
And the bottom 3 people will be booted out, like the bottom 3 couples.
Mm-hmm.
And this is after, it's like, I think the first time it happens is like after like, I don't know, 500 hours.
Yeah.
So these people are pretty wrecked. And that's pretty dramatic. And then, yeah, I think just Bonnie Bedelia,
I mean, clutching her stomach, and you do see her stomach get bigger.
Yeah, because it's 2 months we're with her. It's unbelievable to think that like these things actually occurred.
And they Gig Young, yowza, keeps telling the audience like, we got doctors and nurses, and they do.
Speaking of, let's do a little tangent, talk about Gig Young, because he died,
like almost a decade after this. He killed himself in a murder-suicide situation.
I think it was like, well, I don't want to say
he was only
that.
like 50. He was only 64 or something when he died. So he was only in his 50s here.
Yeah, but he died murder-suicide. He killed his 5th wife, who was much younger than him,
Mm-hmm.
and then killed himself, which is crazy.
Yeah, and he used to be married to Elizabeth Montgomery. He was from a fellow Minnesotan.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Poor Gig. Yeah. Ugh.
Okay, but getting back to Bonnie Bedelia, at one point she's looking real bad. And you hear someone say, oh no, it's not Bonnie Bedelia. It's who's the one where where'd it go? The doctors say Lillian can continue.
Oh, that's just a woman on the dance floor, and you said it looks like she's.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's a non-main character, but some woman is like literally like deteriorating, and they say, oh, she can continue, but I thought she was turning like into 28 days later when they get the virus. Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
But then it's kind of like there are no cameras, it's radio, and it's an audience, so it's like you could manipulate
very easily
the listening audience, because the gag is, and I think this of reality TV as well, like if people really knew, because even we're already like 30 years into reality TV at this point, and people still treat it like it's real.
Yeah,
because
no,
because you hear reality stars talk about the interactions they have with the public, and it's like people really think that this is like their real life, that these aren't scenarios that have been orchestrated, that these homes they're in aren't rented for them, and that but yeah, it's so easy to manipulate the audience when you can craft a story. So like for modern reality TV, editing can really, how many reality TV stars or contestants will later say like, the edit got me?
Yeah, blame it on the edit.
And then you look at some Reddit threads and how people piece together like, well, you can obviously tell by this person's like root regrowth that like clips were cut and switched around to sort of tell. I mean, that's insidious to think that you made me talk over the course of 2 months while doing this extreme thing, not unlike this dance marathon and They Shoot Horses, Don't They? Where it's like, over the course of that period, putting me under these stressful conditions, granted, living in your rented house in Atlanta and being videotaped while you have cocktails at some shitty restaurant is not at the same level.
No, but
the idea that like imagine if you put a camera on me or you for 2 months.
Oh, and warts and all.
Oh my God! I mean,
it'd be ruined.
Yeah, I'd be deported, and I'm a natural born citizen. So it's like, yeah, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. Another little game they do to try to spice things up is they make them dance separately.
Yeah, because these people are leaning on each other. There's one lady whose toes are dragging, and this, oh my goodness, like it's almost like it inspires laughter because it's so extreme that you just can't imagine anyone going through this.
Okay, the first time they run the 10-minute lap, watching Red Buttons run,
oh yeah,
he looked like those old-timey dolls that box,
Mhm.
and how they just look like they're perpetually doing uppercuts.
Mhm.
That's how Red Buttons was running. Okay, but the second time they do
the second time shit is degraded.
Oh my
so
God.
much.
It's like a horror. I mean, this is a horror.
It's a
film.
horror movie, yeah. Mhm.
Because at this point, Jane Fonda has switched partners. And so now she has Red Buttons, and he is going through it. And at a point, he's like, it's very Sanford and Son, because he grabs his chest like, Elizabeth, I'm coming to see you. He has like a heart attack.
The editing of that scene is my favorite.
Oh, it's so good.
Because they do a lot of like choppy stop motion at first, and then it goes
spinning,
and then it goes into slow motion. And how what happens to the film when Red Buttons clutches his chest? It is, in Jane's face, it is tense.
It's more than tense. I mean, it's.
And she's screaming at him, and he's struggling. You know, he's had a heart attack. He's struggling. She's dragging him.
Well, no, he clearly dies.
Well, then he clearly dies at a moment.
And then she's dragging him.
But she doesn't know he's dead.
You know those, did you ever have those monkey back? I mean, my parents at that time, my mom wouldn't have been able to afford one, I guess, like a frivolous, stupid backpack. But remember they had the backpacks that were shaped like little monkeys with the Velcro hands.
I remember girls in school had that, but
that's what Red Buttons look like.
Yeah, he did.
That Velcro monkey backpack just hanging onto her, and Jane Fonda, the look on her face, scream. Oh, can we talk about why she doesn't have an Oscar for this?
Oh yeah, well, she's being punished. She was nominated for an Oscar for this, and she was the favorite to win. But of course, her stance against her anti-war stance against Vietnam, Hanoi Jane, and then I guess there were some other rumors going on about her and drug use, and I know that she was going through her divorce with Roger Vadim, who directed her in Barbarella, which is the year before this. But of course, so Maggie Smith won for The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie this year, and you haven't seen that, but Maggie Smith does kill it in that.
Oh, so she was deserving.
Prime of Miss, that is also an equally deserving performance, but Jane Fonda not having one for this does seem
the
like
look on her face while she's trying to carry Red Buttons, because they're disqualifying the people who are last, so she's like amped up, and then not knowing that she is dragging this dead man is insane. It is insane.
So it was. I think here's a good point to shout out the editor, Frederick Steinkamp, who Sidney Pollack liked to use a lot. He edited Tootsie, and Out of Africa, and 3 Days of the Condor, and won an Oscar for editing for Grand Prix. But it is everything about this technically.
I was trying to think last night I had a little gripe about something that I thought about. And I think so, because I was trying to think what about this movie did not work for me. And there's nothing. I did think the moment when Susanna York's character breaks down, it wasn't,
it actually reminds, because the nurse, she goes into the shower and starts washing herself with her clothes on. And this is after she has recoiled visibly from Red Button's dead head on her lap. When she realizes he's dead, that's when she loses it. She goes into the shower, it's break time, scaring all the other women because she looks insane. The nurse comes in and gasps.
Like it's obvious this woman has lost it.
Like the wild look in her eyes. And then they go and get Gig Young, and he, takes her on out of there. I don't know. It reminded me of that moment and you haven't seen this either, but Bonnie and Clyde, where Bonnie Parker is clearly portrayed as somebody that does not like death, does not want to have anything to do with death, and also set in a similar kind of American time period. And I think Susanna York, her character reacting that way is much like Gig Young's when he says it's too real. I think that it just suddenly, she couldn't deny the fact anymore that this shit was too real.
I think it's hard to judge like this woman having it looks like she's having a psychotic break.
Yeah.
So it's like, to judge her sort of reaction, it seems silly because it's like, well, how is she supposed to behave? She's lost it. So What else would you like to say about this movie?
Oh God. Well,
we could also wrap it up. We've been talking for like 40 minutes about this movie.
I do have the soundtrack of this framed on vinyl because I love. There are several poster art images that I love of this, and one of them gives it away.
I'm so glad I didn't even look at the poster art because it does give it away. So I'm so glad that I went into this not knowing a thing.
Yeah, because it's like it's a gun to Jane Fonda's head. But there is the poster art that I love is of the disco ball that's hanging above, and reflected in the image of it is that scene with Jane Fonda and red buttons and the despair on their faces. And I mean, I guess maybe I am at core a bleak person, but I find this film so utterly captivating and moving. Shout out to the score by Johnny Green, who was somebody that won 5 Oscars as well. The cinematographer, Philip H. Lathrop, who shot Americanization of Emily, and the driver for Walter Hill. But this is truly my favorite Jane Fonda film. It's probably in my top 15 films of all time, but I don't know. There's just nothing else like it.
What would you give?
Well, based on all that, this is a 5 out of 5. Like I would... but it's also something I can't watch very often. It's been at least 18 years since I've seen it, and maybe it'll be that long again, but I love it.
I think I would give They Shoot Horses, Don't They? 5 out of 5.
Okay.
And it's probably more of an emotional 5.
That could be 2, yes, but I do really like it.
But I mean, this story is just, I mean, if clearly if you've listened to this, you're not going to go into it cold.
Oh, and I wanted to mention, I picked it. I wanted you to see this for forever, but I picked it in response to having to watch Save the Last Dance last week, because
So you are being punitive.
This is my favorite dance movie.
You're petty.
Maybe a little bit.
You are sneaky.
Sure.
And
okay,
one day you'll pay.
Oh.
But until then.
Well, until the devil comes to get me. Guess I'm just gonna live.
Well, we'll see how that works. So you're leaving
today
to go to another country,
to France. I mean, it's a pretty well-known, reputable country. So.
Well, I mean, if you don't get to come back in,
I'm sure. I don't think France.
I'll mail your movies to you.
France is not going to want to keep me, I'm sure.
You're going because there's a film festival,
a major one, yeah, the Cannes Film Festival.
What do we have coming this week? I know next week I'm seeing Mission Impossible.
Yes, and I'm seeing
with my favorite Tommy boy.
I'll see it at Cannes. We'll do a remote review of that together.
You know, if Tommy asked me to think about Scientology, I would.
Please don't say that.
But it has to be Tom asking me. Tom Cruise to be specific.
Well, you would do some shit. It'd be like Orwellian doublethink. Like, no, let's not even go there.
I would love for them to strap those things on me and see if they can get my memory going. Like, y'all want to. Well, also, it's like, I've always found it so fascinating that, you know, some people's secrets bind them. Like, they can really be used. And I can understand that, but it would be funny for someone to try that on me. Like, good luck, girl. First of all, if I could even remember. But I'm seeing Mission Impossible and the new Final Destination movie next week.
Yep, that one I have to miss. Yeah.
And I know a review from Magic Farm is dropping next week.
Yeah.
And yeah,
we have several things in the can, so we have some review coverage up while I'm gone. Because the day I get back, you are also headed out of town. We'll probably have we'll record something next weekend while I'm in France, I'm sure.
Yeah, something on Zoom. Not my favorite. My favorite.
My favorite.
That's my impression of Isabelle Huppert when Nick handed her favorite perfume.
Le Bleu. And hose herself down.
My favorite.
My favorite.
And then put 100 spritz on her.
Yeah, it was high.
It's like, there's a video of Rihanna putting her perfume on, and it's like, girl.
Oh, she was lifting up her hair on the side.
Toxic shock syndrome. Like, what is happening?
God. I mean, it's not cheap, girls. You want to use it all right now? I got her a decent sized bottle. Oh, and she was
luxury.
We were in LA, and she's like, "Did you go to New York to get this?" I'm like, "Girl, there's a YSL down
the
street."
Bitch, they had this at TJ Maxx.
Like, what are you talking about? Go to New York? It's right here.
Would she gag?
Well, but what clearly means Isabelle Huppert thinks LA ain't shit. But
wow,
she's not wrong in some ways.
Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No.
All right, ta-ta.